thank you very much for being in our server-side chat, the first one of this year. So my name is Daniel. I'm a cloud engineer at Yumbo. I'm one of the co-hosts of the server-side chat, and we are really happy to see the full house today. So the idea is not to have only presentations, but really build a community of server-side stuff. Data, DevOps, backend, security, front-end? No, not front-end. Just kidding if there is a full stack or a front-end developer here. Just kidding. Or not. Okay? No, but that's it. So we are more than happy to have you all here. And I would like to call for the first presentation, Maram, that will talk about simplified Kubernetes testing with Chainsaw. So, round of applause for Maram, please.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Before we dive into the specific, let me introduce myself first. So, I came from Egypt, as you can see. I studied there computer science. And after my graduation, I started to work for Vodafone Egypt as a performance test engineer. Later, I found I have a passion about meeting people, learning about the cultures around, and I wanted to travel from Egypt. And my next destination was Europe. And I found a great opportunity at Trivago. It's a company based in Düsseldorf in Germany. And there, I lived for 4 years. After that, I got married, and I had to move to Netherlands. It was good. I like living in Netherlands. And now I'm working as a quality coach at OutSystems. As you can see, I do a lot of sports. I started playing American football back in Egypt. And when I moved to Germany, I wanted to adapt in the society. And my first step was to join a club to play American football. I started playing there, but they were so tough. And I felt like, okay, 2 years is enough, and I need to play something else. And then I started to play Ultimate Frisbee. I played there. It was like you need to run a lot, catch the disc. Anyone tried this sport before? Oh, awesome. And then after running, I decided, okay, let's slow down a bit. And I decided to play a racket game. I'm now playing Padel for almost 1 year and a half. Actually, I met some of the colleagues who was working here in the Padel, and I am enjoying it. Okay. Here's our agenda for today. I'm going to talk about Chainsaw. But before I talk about it, I want to understand why testing Kubernetes resources is important. And then we will know more about Chainsaw. We will understand the key features and the benefits of the Chainsaw. We will have a live demo. I want also to talk about the Chainsaw community. At the end, I will listen to your questions. Okay? Ready? Before I start, quality engineers here, can you raise your hands? Oh, more or less. DevOps engineers? Really, one? Oh. Back-end engineers? Oh, we have many. Okay. So what else do we have here?
Data.
Full stack, okay. You're welcome. Who's else? Data engineer. Oh, that's awesome. So we have a variety here. Okay, let's start. Before we dive into the specifics, I need, at the beginning, to answer the question, why testing Kubernetes resources is critical in the first place. Kubernetes is powerful. With great power comes a great responsibility. Whether you are managing a microservices or deploying infrastructure as a code or scaling your application dynamically, ensuring reliability, correctness, and security in Kubernetes is non-negotiable. That's why we need to test. Chainsaw simplifies the integration test of Kubernetes resource. Make the integration test more efficient, scalable. But before I dive into Chainsaw, I want to take a step back. Let's talk about the challenges we face when we deploy to Kubernetes. If you have worked with Kubernetes long enough, you have encountered what we call YAML hell. Anyone agree with me? Okay, so one of the common example that I have personally faced an instance what we receive on production, it was related to a typo in a YAML file. You can imagine, we woke up our engineers at 5 a.m. because a typo in a YAML file. So the example was, we have a service, the service is running, we have a deployment, the deployment is up, but the service failed to route the traffic to the deployment. And what happens? The user weren't able to access the application. What worse, Kubernetes won't warn you. So it seems that your rollout is success, everything is up, running, your cluster is fine, but you have an issue in the production. Anyone want to share any chaos incidents similar to YAML file? Typos. You agree? Okay. I have other two examples. For example, if we have a config map that is mounted to a pod with incorrect permissions, can you imagine what will happen? The application will crash at the runtime. And if we have a network policy that block a critical dependency, imagine you have a microservice that are not able to access its databases or the service, then what will happen? It will break as well, yeah. So now we understand why testing Kubernetes is critical. How we can achieve this? By using Chainsaw. What is Chainsaw? Chainsaw is open source framework that designed specifically for testing Kubernetes resources. Last year, I joined the infrastructure team. Like, I'm working as a quality, but I never worked with the infrastructure. And the first task I got was, let's test Kubernetes. And they provided me with two assets, Flux and operators. Let's focus on Flux. Basically, Flux, anyone here worked with Flux? Okay, so Flux is a concept in Kubernetes where we automate the deployment, we automate the creation of the deployment. Imagine you have several deployments. Instead of deploying one by one, you have a Flux that manages deploying these deployments, automate the deployments. And I was looking in the market to find tools that I can use, and I didn't find. It was like nothing I can use. Maybe Cattle, I tried, but it didn't achieve what I want. Until one engineer said, did you hear about Chainsaw? I said, Chainsaw? No, okay, I will search for it. I tried, I created my POC, I was able to test a Flux. And then in my company, I found that we have 15 teams are using Flux, and they are not doing any tests. I went through the incidents, and I found a lot of issues that could be prevented while you are working in your local machine. And Chainsaw helped me to shift left, start the validation early in my local cluster. Now we know what is Chainsaw. Let's go through its key features. So you can see here, Chainsaw is a friend with Kubernetes and cloud. The first thing I like about Chainsaw, the way we write the test. I didn't need to write any complex script. I just created a simple YAML file, Kubernetes manifests, where you define, you provide the API version for Chainsaw, the kind, I can use the mouse, where you can just provide the test name. Here I'm doing deployment validation for tests, and then you provide your namespace where the test should be run. And then you have your steps. Basically, you can see I'm applying the file. I introduce some weights. I assert. I have a file, have my assertions, and I can do the assert. Is it simple? Yeah. So I like the way when I started to write the test. Then I was able to do live cluster validation. After I run my test, I was able to see in my local cluster the resources created, and I can see the status of the resources. For example, when you are writing the test, it might not pass from the first time. You just need to give a look and see what you are doing wrong, so you can check in your cluster. So here I was able to see I was deploying this. You can see Chainsaw, every time I run Chainsaw, it's create a specific namespace. Generate one for you. So you can see I have here a namespace where my pods were created. And you can see it's running, and this one is still creating, and so on. automate Kubernetes resource validation. And this is the main reason why we are using Chainsaw. Did any one of you here worked with composition? No? No? Okay. Composition now is a hot trend, especially with cross-plane. So what is composition? Composition is a Kubernetes concept that allows you to create a high-level abstraction for managing the creation of application, infrastructure, or even cloud resource. Let me give you an example from the real world. We have a team called Cloud Service Team. And this team, all other teams go to this team and say, we need S3 bucket. We need to provision AWS account, or we need to have Postgres. So the team is going to provision these resources manually for each team. Can you imagine the number of requests they will receive? So we use composition to automate the creation of infrastructure, of cloud resources, of application. In this example here, I am testing a composition. Basically, I create a CR which means a custom resource. This is how composition works. You provide the CRD, custom resource definition, for the composition. So the composition understands whenever I see the CR, I will create the CR. So CR here is DynamoDB, so I'm going to create a DynamoDB in AWS account. And by the way, I attended not last time, the one before, and we have learned about local stack. And I was able to use testing between Chainsaw and local stack. Instead of going and creating my resources in AWS, I was creating locally using local stack, and then do the test between Chainsaw and local stack. Is it clear so far? Okay. Ideal for CI/CD pipeline. I managed to run my test in the CI and the CD pipeline. So basically, I created a cluster using K3D. I was able to start the cluster, install my Chainsaw tool there, and then I run the test, and I stop the cluster. All of this automated. So whenever the developer do any mistake, like a typo in a YAML file or anything, the pipeline will fail, and he will get a fast feedback. The assertions, you are able to assert using Chainsaw. And actually, the tool provides different ways of writing your assertion. As you can see in the first example, I was able to add my assertion to a file and then link the file into my tests. Or I can add the assertion directly in my tests. Another type of assertion also I like and I'm using a lot is the wait. Because in the wait, when you imagine you're applying a resource, I'm applying a deployment. In my wait, I'm saying I want to wait until the deployment is running, which means the status available is true. And then everything is running. Then I start doing my checks on the deployment. Okay, let's deep dive more. What is the test step? You can see here, I have an example called test rollback. I have 3 main blocks: try, catch, finally. So we are aware of this concept, like try, catch, finally. But on each step, I have some operations that I can apply. Let's start with the try. In the try, I'm able to apply my resource in the cluster. Then I can assert on this resource. I can introduce some waits to wait for the resource. At the end, I can also write my custom scripts. If Chainsaw is not providing me with what I need, I can add my own custom script. Let's see the example. Here, I'm applying a rollback batch. I provided a file. I introduced some time. It's just for the example, but normally I only use the wait. I don't need to add the sleep, but I just wanted to show you how many operations we can add on the thread. I'm good. And then I do the assert. So the try is clear. We go for the catch. I like this one because whenever I have a failure in my PR pipeline or on my local cluster, I was able to see the logs. And you can customize the way you want to see the logs. Either you have, oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I am fast. Do I need to slow down? Or it's okay? It's good? Okay. Thank you. So in the catch, I can provide this script operation where, for example, here I want to get all pods, or I can get the logs of the pods, or I can get the events of the cluster. So I go through the events and I know what went wrong. Finally, this operation will run either your test fail or pass. It will run at the end every time. I normally use it to clean the namespace because I told you at the beginning, Chainsaw all the time create namespaces, and they have a cleanup mechanism for deleting the resources, but they are not cleaning the namespaces. At the end, I found my cluster full of namespaces. That's why I introduced this step here to clear the namespaces. Yeah. Sorry. What is going on? Yeah. Yeah, I want to explain something else. I forgot to add it on my slide. But the sequence of running these steps, the try is mandatory. And the operation will run one by one. If one operation fails, we will not go for the next one. For example, here, if the apply failed to apply the resource, something went wrong with your YAML file, then the wait will not go. But you can configure this because you might have many applies in your tests. You want to apply more than one resource and you want to fail fast, or you don't want to fail fast. So you can do this for Chainsaw configuration. The catch will only run if the test fail. And finally, will run every time. Either the test fail or success. Iterating. Chainsaw allows us to iterate over an array of elements. Imagine one of the very popular case when I was writing the tests for different assets. We wanted to make sure the resource limit were set on each pod, and there is no pod violating the resource limit. Then we created a test. Let's iterate over all the resources we have in our cluster and make sure the resource limit is set. So I like this feature. It's nice. They also provide GenPass expression. Honestly, I didn't like it. It was hard for me to learn. It took time, but I managed to do it. This expression you can use if you want to do deep filtering inside. One example here I have. If you wanted to make sure the containers is not running as a root, you can have this using GenPass because Chainsaw is not providing something to say that. Okay, Chainsaw configuration. Actually, I like it as well because it helps you to set a generic configuration across the all tests. You can introduce your timeouts. For example, for apply, I want to wait for 120 seconds. For wait, retries. This one also is awesome because imagine you're running the test. The test failed because the resource is not ready, even if you introduce timeouts. But you might run your test in your local machine. It will need timeouts more than the one you need in the pipelines. So having this retries, it will retry the test before it say it fails. So it will retry twice before saying the test failed. You can also have a log level, and you can either rely on Chainsaw to create a namespace for your tests. If I deleted this namespace from here, it will by default, every time you run the test, create a new namespace for you. Or you can add the namespace you want for your tests. The configuration I show you here, it's generic across all the tests you will have. But of course, you can, inside each test, do your own customization. For example, in this test deployment, I need to have a specific timeouts for the apply and for wait. Let's see the demo. Oh, so the problem I told you about, you can see a lot of namespace I have here on my own cluster because I didn't do this final step. But after I realized it, now all the namespace being deleted. Okay, so how we run the tests? You simply need to write Chainsaw test. And the magic happens. Start running. I will go through the test explaining it. Yeah.
Is it also available in GitHub?
Yeah, it has support for GitHub. You mean like?
No, this project is a project available in GitHub.
Oh, yeah. I will come to this in another slide when I talk about the community. Yeah, it's an open source one on GitHub. So, okay, my test passing. What I am doing, it's a very basic test. So here, this is my folder structure. You're seeing it? Okay. First, I have my configuration defined. And then I have the deployment file. I'm trying, here I specified the namespace I want. And then I want to create a deployment that will have 3 replicas using Nginx image. And I have set my resource limit, my CPU, my memory. And I have created my assertions, which I'm saying I am expecting to have a replica of 3. And I have a resource that will have Nginx image there, and I have a CPU and memory limit set. The test is simple. You are just giving a name for your test step. You are applying the resource, introducing some weights, and then you assert on the resource. Basic one, right? Let's give a look for another one. So for example, let's go here. Oh, sorry. I tried to create a more complex deployment where I have a config map defined and the deployment with each replicas. And then I have a service that is going to route the traffic for the deployment. And I have created ingress to control the network policy. And I'm running the test. It fails. And you can see, I added here in my catch script, if the test fail, I want to get all the pods, and I also want to get the logs for the Nginx deployment to understand what's going wrong. So I can see, I have here all the pods. By looking here, so I have a problem here. But this is Helm. Okay, forget about it. Okay, so my bot's looking fine, so nothing wrong in my bots. Maybe I did something wrong in my assertions. Let's check the assertions file. So I'm saying here I'm expecting 1 replica, but what we have on the test, what we have defined in here, we have defined that we have 2 replicas. That's why the test is failing. If I change this one to 1, I save, and I run the test again. Hopefully. Let's see. Oh, working. I just wanted to show you how the catch works. Okay. I also prepared another example. Actually, I wanted to create a real composition, but I thought it might take 5 hours to be created, but 5 hours passed, I'm still debugging, and I couldn't. Okay, let's go here. By the way, you can see here in my configuration, we have something called skip delete. You remember when I said Chainsaw provides a mechanism of cleaning up the resources after the test is done. But sometimes I don't want to create the resource immediately. I want to skip the delete and check what happened on my cluster, so I can do that. And then I will be able to see my resources. For example, here, okay. Let's delete all the, okay, we have only one deployment here. I want to delete it just to see with you what is happening. We will run the test again. So you can see the deployment started to create. It will have 3 replicas now, or 4 replicas, okay. We can go check the pods. So we can see our pods is running, the 4 of them, and it's deleted. Oh, I didn't save skip delete. Okay, it's security patch. Yeah, it should not be deleted. Or maybe because here and finally I am deleting the namespace, and when you delete the namespace, all the resources in the namespace will be deleted. So we will also comment this step for now and run again. Running and not terminated. Okay, then we are good. So here what I am doing, I have original deployment, the one with specific version for Nginx. And then I will do a security patch where I will update the version. At the end, I will do a rollback where I go again to the original version. Let's say, for example, here, I make this a wrong number. Let's make it true. I save, I run the test. Do you like it so far? Yeah. Okay. Check the test again. Oh, now I see the failure. So you can see here the error message. So the invalid value, the expected value is the correct image. Okay? Yeah.
What is the expected value? This part?
Yes, I have here assertions where I have defined, yes, I have defined the updated one. And I like the way of writing files for the assertions, because when I started working with Chainsaw, I was adding my assertion directly on the test. And then the test file reached 1,000 lines. I was like, oh my God, this is not a good practice. That's why I like the way of using files. It's better. Yeah, regarding the community. So actually, when I started working with Chainsaw, I searched for the Slack channel. And whenever I have an issue, I write for them. They were answering immediately. And this was awesome. And they also, it's open source. You can also contribute to the project. Please, if you like it, go give them a star, because they are doing an awesome work. It helped me a lot in my work. And I hope if you are going to use it, it will help you as well. Question? Thank you.
Okay, everyone. Do you have any questions?
Yeah.
Okay, so, wait. Remember, that's not fake.
Yeah.
Okay? It's not fake.
Of course.
Okay, I noticed that you have 3 different scenarios for the sample, but I'm wondering what is the best approach to configure a suite of these 3 scenarios. We have to maybe consider maybe delete or remove the namespaces for issue one?
You mean, sorry, like, can you repeat it? You mean we need to remove the namespace?
Yes, or what is the best approach to configure a suite of these three scenarios in the same execution?
Okay. For me, yeah, I don't normally define the namespace. Normally, I let Chainsaw to create the namespace because I destroy the resources after it's created. So I don't care on which namespace the test will run. And if Chainsaw is managing the creation of namespace, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, I was really curious about, you say that you don't use that much sleep. Comparing with what the other, I would like to know why and which, I don't know, perk or feature you like most. And
Yeah, as I told you, when I was running the tests on my local machine, it was slower than when I was running on a PR pipeline. So, for example, I need to introduce a sleep for maybe 100 seconds in my machine, but on the pipeline, I only need 10 seconds. That's why I like to wait for the resource to be ready in whatever environment, because sometimes the cluster, like in your dev stage or production, the cluster, if it's consuming a lot of memory, and then you will take a lot of time to have your resource up and running. Yeah. Yeah.
Hello, thank you so much for the talk. So my question was, I think in the beginning of the talk you mentioned something called composition, was it? Yeah, so the way that I understood it, is it something, it's infrastructure as code, right? Or, okay, so it's similar to...
It's a Kubernetes native way.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you can continue.
So what would be the difference between composition and things like Pulumi or CDK or Terraform? Like
Terraform, yeah, for example. Okay. Currently, in my company, we are trying to move from Terraform and use Kubernetes native way. Imagine you can create everything from your cluster, even if cloud resources. And I think crossplane, you can read more about composition crossplane. It's awesome. Yeah, and I wish we will move from Terraform because I don't like it.
Thank you.
Okay, so please, one other round of applause.